Hello and welcome to Tenby for the triathlon that offers 3 events in one. During the next 3 days, over 6,000 competitors will experience the history, witness the scenery and of course endure the pain, all in the Pembrokeshire Coastal National Park. Welcome to Long Course Weekend. Well, the event takes place in a corner of Wales that's usually ideal for a quiet getaway, but not this weekend because Tenby provides some of the noisiest support there is on the triathlon circuit. The athletes, though, are going to need it as they take on an iron distance triathlon over the course of the weekend. Well, many a Welsh holiday starts on the beach, and this event is no exception. After the kids' race on a Friday night, 2,000 competitors will start the Wales swim. Some just for the splash, but for the hardy 650, it's the first stage of the Long Course Weekend. Well, if you don't like transitions, then this is the triathlon for you because there aren't any. After the swim, there's hopefully a decent night's sleep before the action resumes on the Saturday. The long course athletes will join in with 2,500 others for the Wales Sportive. That's a 112-mile bike ride and has a timed hill climb to really test those cycling specialists. Well, it's a busy weekend for race organisers. First thing on Sunday morning, more athletes come to Tenby for the Wales Marathon. It's a major event in its own right. The long course competitors will join 2,000 other runners. The route takes them to Pembrokeshire Castle, where the half marathon starts, and then everyone heads back to Tenby for the finish on Tudor Square. So for completing all of this and conquering the long course weekend, this is the collection of medals that the athletes will earn. It fits together after the final event. So this is the first one up for grabs then. It's for the Wales swim. Let's join our commentator Patrick Winterton for the action.
What a spectacle we have here in Tenby for the start of the long course weekend. And as usual, it's going to be the kids that get it underway with the splash and dash. Everything to get the kids involved. All the primary school kids enabled to enter this little event. And it's brought down thousands and thousands. We've got 6,000 athletes involved over the weekend. We've got many more spectators who will be turning up to cheer the athletes on their way. And everyone enjoying this little starter. Are we watching some of the champions of the future? This surely is the way to get them infused, get them involved. And here are those involved in the Wales swim, just minutes away from the start, and understandably a few nervous-looking faces down there. Those going the full distance have a 2.4-mile swim ahead of them.
Well, guiding us through the weekend is pro Ironman athlete Harry Wiltshire. And Harry, Tenby in West Wales is really becoming a rising force in long-distance triathlon. I suppose looking around at the scenery, it's easy to see why.
Very easy to understand it. It's just a location that everyone wants to come along to. You can see the beach. It makes a fantastic weekend for the family, for the people who are here, really as age group competitors. And for the pro athletes, there's good quality racing, good quality roads for the bike, really interesting swim competition. So it's the sort of thing everyone wants to come along to.
And as an athlete, how would you approach this weekend being the 3 events over 3 days? How does that differ to doing the one long-distance triathlon?
Well, the first thing you see is that there aren't transitions, so you're not thinking when you come to the end of the swim how you're getting from the swim to the bike. You can really just push as hard as you like. Once you're in the swim, you're thinking, I've got 12 hours to recover before the next leg, so I can give it everything I've got, and then it's thinking about nutrition and recovery in between the end of the swim and the start of the bike tomorrow morning.
And tactics-wise, you're saying that most athletes will just go all out on each of the disciplines, on each of the days, just try and go as maximum as possible, rather than when you're doing a long-distance triathlon, you're always thinking about your heart rate and not going too fast and too hard?
To a certain extent. I mean, it's still a long swim, 3.8k. If you push too hard too early, you can fall to pieces. And particularly on the bike tomorrow, it's a really gruelling, tough bike course. And anyone who goes out too hard will really suffer in the second half. So there's still an element of pegging it back and keeping hold of it.
Well, great, plenty to look forward to. The swim will be underway shortly, so let's join our commentator Patrick Winterton for the action.
Well, we have a really mixed bag here. We have the swimming specialists, including Tommy Allen. We have, of course, the top triathletes doing all the events this weekend. And there are hundreds here in their neoprene suits who are just here to finish. Well, last year it was all about Ollie Simon, the local man from Tenby, who claimed his third long course weekend title, beating Dominic Rowan Gates with a classy performance. And the good news is that both men are back again this year.
There's a lot of pressure on me to win because people just expect it. So I know how hard it is to win these events. I know how hard I had to work last year. Even though the gap was quite large of me and Dominic, I still had to really work hard on that bike and the run to maintain it. But it will be really good if I can win again.
Definitely wouldn't come here unless I thought I had a chance of winning. I think with this format it's very hard to beat someone like Ollie. You know, it's a bit like racing one direction. You get everywhere you go with Ollie, he's supported and people are cheering for him and screaming for him, and he's a good swimmer on top of that, so he gets in front, and then you know, if I can claw it back on the bike, then I've got a chance of winning. But it's hard against Ollie here, and there's a lot of good athletes who you don't know who are going to come up and do something they might not have expected.
Ollie and Dom certainly know how to win, but they can't match Stephen Bayliss for international experience.
I've done a lot of races around the world, and different places are more welcoming than others, but here it seems that they really do embrace the endurance sports, and it's just brilliant that there's a whole weekend here of swimming, cycling and running, and kids doing it and adults, and it's a big kind of festival of sport. And yeah, for whatever reason, it's brilliant. The whole community really get behind it and welcome everyone here.
Now, just to explain, those in the white caps are involved in the swim only. Those in the yellow are doing the whole of the long course weekend. And the man in blue is Tommy Allen, who effectively is the hare today. Anyone who can beat him wins £500 for their chosen charity. But that is not going to be easy. Tommy Allen just back from the World Championships, where he competed in the 5-kilometre event. An astonishing time of 55 minutes, only got him 23rd place. We'll see what he can do today. 2.4 miles for those going the whole way. There are a lot of competitors just doing half the course, so 1.2 miles, which is once round the loop. Up front, as expected, we've got Tommy Allen, and he's got Chris Suggett, last year's winner for company. And leading the long course weekend at the moment, we've got Stephen Bayliss. There he is, just ahead of Ollie Simon. Ollie Simon's time last year, 44 minutes, could be made to look average by the likes of Tommy Allen.
As a multi-sport athlete, it kind of shows you up in a way in certain aspects, because obviously you've got the swimmers who are training kind of 4 hours a day, and you know, they come down and just make you look like an average swimmer, whereas usually at an Ironman event, you know, you're coming out lead pack, you're one of the fastest guys. But it is really nice to put yourself up against those top guys, and you'd like to think you can compete with them, but when they're doing that amount of training, it's really hard as a multi-sport athlete.
Stephen Bayliss. Well, you can see the conditions a little choppier than they were last year. It's not rough by any stretch of the imagination, but it just makes the swimming that much harder, and it will affect the worst swimmers the most. Those who are average can add 50% to the time they produced last year. The best swimmers, maybe 5% added to their time, because they just know how to cope with the conditions. And it's Tommy Allen through to the turn, the Australian transition, or the Australian exit as it's known, back into the water for another 1.2 miles. That's a superb swim, but he's something like 2.5 minutes down on his first loop last year. But the most important thing is that he has the lead, and last year he was chasing this man, Chris Suggett. Those two only some 22 seconds apart at the moment. Will we see a change on the second loop? Tommy Allen, fresh, remember, from those World Championships. Here's Stephen Bayliss, the first of the long course weekend athletes to exit the water. And this is a fine performance from Stephen. He's had a really bad season in terms of illness. He lost the whole of March in terms of training with pneumonia and then one throat infection after another. Ollie Simon, second place. And as you heard, he is the defending champion here in Tenby. Good solid start from Ollie Simon. Well, the masses, many of them here just to complete the swim. That is no mean feat. 2.4 miles. The leading woman at the moment, Heather Reese, out of the water. Now she's in the 50 to 54-year-old age group in most triathlons she enters, so she's having an astonishing day. Really good swimming from her. Fern Davis is a long way up front, but Fern Davis just doing the swim, and she of course is a specialist swimmer, an international swimmer. Well, there's no doubt that having 3 events on 3 different days creates a very special atmosphere. And I guess the best indication of that is that so many athletes come back time and time again for this long course weekend. A massive amount of organisation needed for events like this, and the driving force behind this long course weekend in Tenby is Matt Evans.
The locals get it, the community really love it here. They've even worked pedestrianisation around it now. This opens the summer for Tenby and beyond now. The athletes love the 3 days. They love the fact that what we call get off the sofa distances. So there's a 10k, there's the small 1.2 mile swim, there's a 40 mile bike, and there's a pointy end, and the pros come and they're all mates now. They come down and they get on and they're racing over 3 days. So there's a bit of a magic really between everyone.
Plenty of time for socialising in between each of the 3 events. And we're waiting for Tommy Allen. Here he is, the blue cap has gone. He's caught up with some of those only swimming 1 lap. An impressive performance by Tommy Allen to take the win in the swim.
The first lap was probably the worst. The second lap started to feel a bit better, and then I could push on a bit more. That was good practice.
Last year's winner, Chris Suggett.
There was a lot of chop and it made the race a lot tougher than it usually is, but overall I'm quite happy. Second place, you can't complain.
And the first of the long course athletes coming in, Stephen Bayliss. Big question marks over his health and fitness, but he's taken the first win. That is a very impressive performance.
I was very fast with the real fast swimmers. I mean, I couldn't keep up with them, and I felt the second lap really felt a bit like I was losing a bit of power. But yeah, it was good fun, good training, good to come in first of the long course, guys.
52 minutes for Bayliss. Ollie Simon coming in 52.56, so just 56 seconds between the 2 top contenders on the long course weekend.
I got a bit of bad cramp out on the end buoy over there, but yeah, other than that, it was really good. At least we could see Goscar Rock this year, so it was quite easy on the way in, and it was a nice pull all the way across. But no, there's a lot more athletes out there this year, so it was tough going, but glad I got it over and done with now.
So let's have a look at the men's scoreboard. Bayliss 52.04, some 57 seconds clear of Ollie Simon. And don't forget Dominic Rowan-Gates down there in 10th, 11.52. That's a big margin that he's already got to make up. Heather Reese, the first of the women across the line in the long course weekend, 103.35 her time. And Bethan Griffiths, there she is. Second round after the first lap, she holds on to second place. Good performance by her, some 3 minutes down, 3:47 to be exact, ahead of Amy Armstrong. The defending champion, Neris Jones, 1:33.57, so she is a long way down. Karina Ebsworth into the finish, all smiles with 50 metres to go, and the mad dash continues, and one of the competitors nearly going down. Well, time and time again, the tired legs getting the better of these athletes as they come across the line.
Just been running out of the water, chipped. I think my legs are giving up. I haven't used them for the last hour and a half.
Well, it's a good thing he's not going straight out onto the bike. Plenty of time to clean up and recover before tomorrow's bike ride. And the fans turning out in huge numbers. What a difference that makes.
Are you looking forward to the rest of the event?
Yeah, I can't wait. Really buzzing now.
Well, they're going to need every bit of support they can get.
1 down, 2 to go. Ready for tomorrow now. Really enjoyed it. It's good.
Well, as always, a fantastic atmosphere here in Tenby for the Friday night event. Tomorrow sees a 112-mile bike for the Wales Sportive. So time to hang up the wetsuit, give the bike a once-over before the long course weekend resumes in the morning. Well, welcome back. It's morning in Tenby for the second stage of this event. It is the Wales Sportive that will be getting underway shortly. There's a 42-mile route and a 70-mile route, but for the long course athletes, those that are competing for the title, they've got to take on the 112-mile route that takes in some of the very best scenery in South Pembrokeshire. Now, in true time trial style, the leaders will descend this ramp in reverse order. So our overnight leader after the swim, Stephen Bayliss, will be last off the ramp, and then the chase is on.
So the long course athletes underway, 112 miles on the bike, and it's a notoriously difficult bike course.
Cramped up badly in the swim yesterday, but yeah, I feel all right this morning. Looking forward to getting going.
If I can stay fit for this ride, then tomorrow we have a chance of finishing.
Drink lots of fluid, eat lots of food and just survive us all.
I was told it's going to be sunny here today, but no, not really.
Well, if he lived near the coast, he would know that you can have 4 seasons in one day in this part of the world. And so hopefully we will see some sunshine. The top 20 all have the privilege of going down the ramp. And with Rowan Gates 10th in the swim, he's 9 minutes ahead of Bayliss.
Dominic, how's the body feeling then after yesterday's swim?
Yeah, his shoulder's a bit sore. I think the ego's a bit more bruised than anything, having to deal with that chop. But generally pretty good, slept well, and looking forward to surviving this.
And now it is time for the defending champion, Oliver Simon, the penultimate starter here in Tenby.
Seen that as I cycled in and I thought, oh, they've pulled their socks out this year for us. It was a bit of a shock to see that. It's a bit of a Tour de France kind of ramp style. But yeah, it looks really good, so it'll be a good spectacle. It's nice that it's dry at least at the moment. It's a bit windy out there, but I'm really looking forward to it. I got a good gap on my rivals and hopefully I can hunt most of them down off the ramp today.
Well, is he forgetting one Stephen Bayliss, who starts a minute behind him, having taken 57 seconds out of him on the swim yesterday? Here is Stephen Bayliss, who bases himself in Lanzarote. He is one of the class endurance athletes in Britain.
Don't really know how it'll pan out, so I'll just start riding and see what happens.
Well, the doubt with Bayliss is all due to the illness that he had earlier this year. I think he's used up Lanzarote's allocation of antibiotics, to be honest, to deal with all the sore throats he's had, but we wish him well. This is the man he's hunting, Dominic Rowan Gates, on his own out front. Surely Bayliss's priority will be to catch Oliver Simon and then share the workload with the local champion. Ollie Simon on one of many climbs on this course. He knows these roads better than anyone else here, and that's got to be a massive advantage. Well, what does Dominic Rowan Gates do? He can't wait for Simon and Bayliss. He has to go it alone.
Now, there's an effect to being in the group. So if a group of riders get together and there's fast riders in that group, they will go faster than an individual rider. So very, very tactical, with some of the long course weekend riders trying to get in a group of fast riders, others deciding to go hard, go solo and go all the way by themselves.
So potentially we could see Dominic Rowan Gates blasting it from the start and trying to stay out in front and build a decent gap between him and Ollie and Stephen, who could actually work together and try and share the load as effectively.
Exactly, but Dominic has a safety net because he's got riders behind him. If he gets caught by anyone, he's got someone he can work with. Whereas Stephen is the last rider off. He has to get up to someone if he's going to work with them. And if he's good enough to get to them, he's probably good enough to go straight past them.
Well, Dominic Rowan Gates might argue with that because he's got no one else around him who's as quick as he is. And therefore he would have to slow his pace if he wants to work with someone else. It's a difficult decision for Rowan Gates, but he is the fastest on the road at the moment.
thought of trying to do 3 hours or 4 hours solo and then hanging on for dear life at the end doesn't appeal too much at the moment, but you know, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the whole back end is very hilly, especially when the fatigue starts to bite. You're just getting more and more hills and steeper gradients as well. So yeah, but you know, that's all part of the fun.
Well, it's only taken some 35, 40 minutes or so for Bayliss to virtually close the gap on Ollie Simon. And when those two get together, they can work effectively. We all know about the slipstream. The man behind gets some help. Not so many people know that the man in front also gets some help because his wind flow has been broken up behind. The biggest advantage, though, going to the man behind. And if they work well, they will share the lead. Now they are joined. Simon and Bayliss. Are they now the two favourites to win this long course weekend? Certainly, Rowan Gates has a much harder task to beat these two now. Ollie Simon still looking very, very cool. He is a very relaxed athlete. 5th in the UK Ironman a few years ago. And the distance will not be a problem. Bayliss, I think his tactics are clear now. Catch Ollie Simon and stick with him. That's certainly the sensible way to play it. Beautiful scenery. The surfers amongst them will be planning a little surf at the end of this event.
Such a hard course, especially that last 40 miles of the course and that last lap, because it's so hilly. At the first bit, everyone goes hears off, and when you've got 22 mile an hour average on that part, and then it kind of slowly drops as you go through the course.
The course certainly getting harder and harder as the day goes on. They now have a third man in this group. You can just see at the back, Richie Gardner. Now, he's best known for his marathon running, 5 times Welsh champion. Even Steve Jones never managed that. Well, Bayliss and Simon quicker on the flat sections, but every time they come to a steep climb, Richie Gardner claws them back in, so he certainly is in the picture now and a potential podium finisher in this long course weekend. The technique's not perfect, but the heart and lungs are about as good as you can get. The scenery unmatched on this route, and that's why so many of these athletes keep coming back to race around Pembrokeshire. Freshwater West, one of the best views they get on the entire course. Gardner sticking in there. He's a tenacious athlete and he will enjoy the head-to-head with Bayliss and Simon. Bayliss starting to look a little fatigued.
Well, just like the Tour de France, one of the most popular places for the spectators to gather, of course, are the hill climbs. And here in Saundersfoot, it's a real crowd favourite. And the organisers have created a special stage. So watch out. Some of these athletes are going to be going all out, sprinting the 300 metres, looking to become king or queen of the hill.
Great to claim that title, but it may damage your chances of finishing this second day, and it certainly will affect the way you run on the final day. Here's Dominic Rowan Gates. He's not going for King of the Hill. He wants the long course weekend title, and he's out on his own up front at the moment. He's just a little quicker from the splits we're getting, a little quicker than Ollie Simon. He's much quicker than Stephen Bayliss at the moment, who seems to be dropping off the pace. But Rowan Gates, after a poor swim yesterday, has a lot of work to do. Here's Ollie Simon on the steep climb in Saundersfoot, just taking it steady. Richie Gardner is still with him, with the blue strip down the side of his suit. And Richie Gardner really excelling himself today. You'll notice that Stephen Bayliss is off the pace. He's been dropped by Ollie Simon. That's desperately bad news. We'll wait and see what's happened to him. Rowan Gates, as he has been for the last couple of hours, on his own, and he's paying the price of having a poor swim. 10 minutes quicker and he might have had some faster riders to work with throughout the day. wearing number 1, wanting to be number 1 again. It's Ollie Simon, already 3 times champion in the long course weekend. A right-hand turn in front of Carew Castle and a welcome bit of descent as he tries to chase down Dominic Rowan Gates, both men travelling at roughly the same speed. But what is crucial is that Ollie Simon has broken away from Gardner and he's left behind Bayliss. In fact, we're hearing that Bayliss has now pulled out of the race. Obviously, there's something wrong there. That's very sad news because he was certainly playing a big role in this long course weekend. Dominic Rowan Gates, it'll take more than a bad patch to stop him. A really determined athlete, turned pro last year. A win here, as he did in 2013, would be a really big tick in his CV. Ollie Simon is the man who wants to deny him, looking for that 4th title. 2,000 riders on the roads today. The fastest will take some 5.5 hours. They have 10 hours to complete, and there are plenty of riders out there who will take every single second of that 10 hours. This course voted in the top 5 of Ironman bike courses, with the 2,000 metres of ascent that they also have to negotiate, as well as the 112 miles. It is a day to remember on the bike. The finish and the start both in Tenby, and Dominic Rowan Gates is going to be the first of the big names to cross the finish line. But the question is, has he taken any time out of Ollie Simon, who started some 9 minutes behind him? Negotiating the streets and the crowds as he comes into Tenby. That finish barrier, one very welcome sight. He has given it all today. 5 hours, 22 minutes, 42 seconds of riding. And he's got to run a marathon tomorrow.
Well, Dominic, you look like you gave that cycle pretty much everything you could.
Yeah, and a bit more, I think. Having 2 of the best long course triathletes in the country chasing you the whole way, working together, is a horrible experience. The support you get on the back end, especially on the Seapo climb, and in fact all along the coast, is what makes it possible. And you come in, and already I can feel my spirits lifting, just being back in Tenby. So it's so hard and so rewarding that it kind of balances out, and it wouldn't be possible anywhere else. It's because it's so rewarding that it's bearable, because it is so tough, that bike course and the marathon tomorrow. It's all tough, but it's all incredibly rewarding as well.
Well, it's not long before Ollie Simon comes round the corner. He's given away just under 2 minutes to Dominic Rowan Gates, but he's maintained most of the lead that he gained in the swim yesterday. Now, just a reminder, Bayliss and Simon were the first 2 in the swim, with Rowan Gates 11:52 behind. It's all change after the bike ride. Bayliss has retired, Gardner's gone 3rd, Rowan Gates into 2nd, and last year's champion, Ollie Simon, is back in the driving seat.
It didn't pan out as I wanted. Kind of got stuck by myself for a long portion. I did the whole 2nd lap by myself, so I really had to dig deep on the 2nd lap.
Tough. It's long, and conditions vary today, with the heat and things. Still a little bit new for me, this 2-wheel sort of venture, but it's such a long time in the saddle. A lot of things go through your mind. Concentration, that's the hard part,
So real drama in the men's event. In the women's, there's a big surprise. Emma Newsom, who was 19th in the women's event last year, has come in first after the bike ride and leapfrogged into the lead. There she is on 7:54.47. Heather Rees, who won the swim, 1:04 behind, and last year's champion Neris Jones, 30 minutes 41 to make up on the final day.
Just seemed to be flying out there, even with the wind and rain, just didn't care. It just didn't matter.
Is Emma Newsom on her way to a long course victory? Well, there are plenty of other athletes out there, 2,000 in all, remember, competing today in the bike ride from ages of 14 all the way up to 72. This is an event that now appeals to everybody.
It was really raining at some points, but sunny and hot at others. It was really good fun.
Brilliant, so many spectators on the course, just, amazing.
The support in Saundersfoot was just phenomenal, and the ride into Tenby just can't be matched.
The atmosphere is sensational, and a lot of these guys will have appreciated racing alongside some of the world's best known names. Lucy Gossage is one of the great champions.
Unbelievable, honestly, this has been one of the most fun rides in a long, long time. I'm on such a high and really, really enjoying it.
For some, their weekend is now over, but for the 650 who are doing the whole of the long course weekend, they now have the small matter of a marathon to think about.
Well, after the second stage and the 112-mile bike ride, the competition really starting to hot up. Oliver Simon has the advantage heading into the final day, but the challenge for him and the other long course athletes is to keep the legs loose, fight off any stiffness ahead of the Wales Marathon in the morning.
Welcome back to Pembrokeshire and Tenby and the long course weekend. The third day of action, 2 events completed. We have just the marathon remaining, 26.2 miles, and this is the medal they're after today. Well, the situation is that last year's defending champion Ollie Simon leads the way after a brilliant bike ride yesterday and a very solid swim. Dominic Rowan Gates once again in second place, but Richie Gardner is the surprise. He's an out-and-out marathon runner, but can he close down that 34 minutes 58 seconds?
So Harry, we've come to the beautiful Manorbier Castle to dissect the competition so far. What did you make of the bike stage?
Well, we talked about Ollie and Stephen getting together and trying to work as a two and to try and claw back that gap to Dominic, who set off before them. And we were right, but then Stephen really didn't have any legs and was not really well enough to pull on the bike. So what we ended up with was a man-on-man between Dominic and Ollie. It's going to be a case of who can recover best.
Thank you very much, Harry. Plenty to look forward to. Just one stage remains then. Who will be this year's long course champion? Can Oliver Simon hold on to the title?
Emma Newsom trying to win the women's title. Ollie Simon hoping that it's going to be his 4th title here in Tenby. A 2:50 marathon would be good enough.
Legs have still got a little bit left, I think, so hopefully we'll get along the Ridgeway quite quick, out to Pembroke quite quick, and then we'll see what it's like around the 15-mile mark. That's when the legs tell their story.
Rowan Gates is going to have to take some risks if he wants to win. He's 10 minutes 20 down.
I've got a pace I know I can hold, so I'll just find that rhythm as early as possible and then hold it.
And what about the racing snake, Richie Gardner, a supreme marathon runner?
It is my event, but of course I know what the marathon run is all about, and it's going to be tough whether I rode yesterday or not. You've got to respect the distance and you've got to respect the opposition as well.
34 minutes for Gardner to make up. He's found himself on the front line of the start, as you would expect, and he'll be looking for every second today. Away they go, 26.2 miles still to go, and the crowds who've been here for the last 2 days have stayed for the finale here in Tenby. This is going to be a special occasion. There are those just doing the Wales Marathon, not competing in the long course weekend. We should expect to see a few of them out front. Keep your eyes out for Ollie Simon. What about Emma Newsom? Is she going to be the new champion in the women's event, or will Neris Jones produce another stunning run to come through and defend the title that she won last year? It's a big ask for Neris Jones, who had a much worse swim this year. The conditions of the sea, incidentally, have been very, very influential on that first day. The early leader, Gareth Thomas, who pulled out of the bike ride yesterday and consequently looking very fresh in the legs, he'll want to make up for yesterday's disappointment. Richie Gardner chasing him all the way, the Commonwealth ultramarathon champion back in 2011 and 5 times Welsh marathon champion, looking very fluent despite yesterday's ride. Rowan Gates, who always looks heavy on the road, plodding away, setting that pace that he knows he can hold. And here comes the pocket rocket, as she's known in the world of biathlon. Neris Jones, last year's champion, grinding out the miles in the early stages, but she has a huge margin to make up on Emma Newsom. Gardner getting into his flow, looking very, very relaxed out on the road. Emma Newsom, she needs a PB in my book if she's going to hold on to this lead. And thousands out on the roads today, some electing to do the full marathon distance, others starting from Pembroke Castle to do the half marathon, and then Manorbier Castle, the start of the 10k run. And they'll all be on the roads together as they head back to the finish at Tenby. So Gardner leading the run at the moment. Petz has moved into second with Rowan Gates on his shoulder, and not far behind Ollie Simon trying to secure his 4th title. And Neris Jones trying to put time into Emma Newsom if she's going to defend the title she won last year. We have a cracking race on our hands, just what the crowd would have wanted. And there's no doubt that the best thing about this event is the involvement of the entire community.
The long courses has to be about the area, about the culture, and just massively integrating the community and the sport and the children and everything else we possibly can, just to give it that flavour, really.
How would you like to see the event develop in a few years to come?
It's already started next year, and in December we have long course again Lanzarote. We're talking to a number of countries already, but what's very important that when we move, it's not Wales in Lanzarote. This will always remember the Welsh ingredient, the Welsh magic. When we go to Lanzarote, you're going to have the Lanzarote ingredient and the Lanzarote magic, and then wherever you go from there.
There's certainly some magic out on the road today. Rowan Gates desperately trying to win the title he got in 2013, but he's got his main rival right behind him.
Don't know if I can handle him there the whole way.
Ollie Simon certainly winning the battle of the minds at the moment.
A bit of a psychological game going on now.
Yesterday, all day, it bothered me.
Surely Rowan Gates has got to make a break at some stage if he wants to win this. 10 minutes to gain.
If I go and do something suicidal, the game can change completely. So to think that it's just me and Ollie is risky. I've got a pace I know I can run, and I've just got to try and stick to that as much as possible and see where we end up.
Still stuck together, these two so closely matched. Rowan Gates looking that little bit heavier. I know Ollie Simon, what is he, 5'11", 75 kilograms. Rowan Gates looks to be a couple of kilos heavier than that. That could cost him when it comes to the bigger climbs on this course. Simon's still looking relaxed. He's racing the man, not the race here. He's just interested about winning the title, not about producing his fastest ever marathon time. And that's exactly the way it should be. How much time is all the support worth? Leading the way in the long course weekend run is Richie Gardner. He's also leading the Wales Marathon, so he's having a good day at the moment, but that grab for fluid might suggest that he's starting to struggle. A long, long time to make up on the likes of Ollie Simon. A podium place looking likely. A win is possible for Gardner, but he's going to have to go some. Rowan Gates has now made a little break ahead of Ollie Simon. Is this the break that's going to bring him the title back that he won in 2013? Or is it the suicide that he was talking about? Because he's now running at a pace of something like 2:36, 2:37 in terms of his total marathon time. And that is very, very quick indeed. All the runners enjoying the conditions. They are perfect for running today.
Are you having fun?
Yes, lovely weather for it. Can't fault it.
Gardner still flowing nicely. Approaching Pembroke, and this of course is where they pick up the half marathon starters. There'll be many, many more people on the roads, but they won't interfere with Richie Gardner's progress. Now some 2 or 3 minutes ahead of the likes of Dominic Rowan Gates. He needs more, much more. He's past the halfway stage, and he's past those doing the warm-up in Pembroke Castle for that half marathon. The atmosphere just a little less tense than it was at the start of the marathon, but the procession no less dramatic. This is a real boost for the marathon runners. And away they go. The pace at the front, very, very quick. And now the marathon runners and the half marathon runners mingling. Neris Jones going along nicely, looking very relaxed, confident you would say. She had over 30 minutes to make up on Newsom at the start of the run today, but she was an hour and a quarter quicker than Newsom in the run last year, so that might explain her confidence. Newsom, though, was on tremendous form in the bike yesterday, and she's already running at PB pace here. I think both women think they can win this one.
I saw the men and women on that podium last year, and I've always wanted to be on a podium at some point in my sort of, athletic career. So, to win today would be absolutely phenomenal.
Is it beyond her? She needs to run at around 3 hours 40 for the marathon, and that is no mean achievement. Now, there's been a change of leader in the men's event. Gareth Petts has gone through ahead of Richie Gardner. Now, Gareth Petts has picked up the pace, Gardner has dropped off, and that is bad news, and it might mean that third place is up for grabs, because Petts started the day 8 minutes behind Gardner. Rowan Gates still hanging on to second overall at the moment, but he is struggling, particularly on the downhill sections. Just over 6 miles to go and 2 big hills to climb as well. Body language would suggest that Dominic Rowan Gates is struggling, and Ollie Simon looks to be flowing nicely. But you never know in a race of this length. Will it be Simon? Will it be Rowan Gates? Well, welcome back to the long course weekend. We are in the middle of the marathon, the final day of action here in Pembrokeshire. And the race leaders well over the halfway stage, and in fact approaching the last couple of stiff climbs on this course. Despite the rain, they still need a lot of fluid to take on board. Here's Dominic Rowan Gates on the penultimate climb. He does not look comfortable. He went for a very early break to try and get away from Ollie Simon. Ollie Simon is still there, still in control of this event at the moment. Well, the conditions have gone from bright sunshine to torrential rain. It won't affect the athletes. In fact, it might be just the refreshing downpour that they needed as they come towards the closing stages of this marathon. Richie Gardner, certainly expected to win this part of the race, has pushed and pushed and pushed. His split on the second half so far has been a couple of minutes slow, and that's given Gareth Petts the opportunity to get clear. Petts, an astonishing run from him. He's the first across the line, but has he done enough to get himself on the podium?
Running out the first 3 miles, to be running beside Ollie, they're an inspiration. It's those that have got me to come to this weekend, and I don't think without those I wouldn't be here, I don't think.
A time of 2:40.54 for Petts. Gardner fading in the closing stages. He's over 2:43 already, but he had a great swim. 1:06 in the water on day one, 5:45 for the 112 miles on the bike, and his marathon time will be 2:44 and 22 seconds.
Richard, third on your first long course weekend.
In that sort of company, Ollie Simons and that, to get in amongst them and to hopefully give them a race. That's all I can ask for.
And that was only his third ever triathlon. Here's Rowan Gates coming in towards the finish. He's going to hold off Ollie Simon in terms of the marathon, but Ollie Simon is less than 10 minutes behind. And that means that Simon will be the champion once again for 2015. And it's runners-up place yet again for Dominic Rowan Gates. What an effort from this man. He had the hard luck of doing the bike ride on his own, and he's run from the front as well. He's left nothing in the tank.
For the first 8 miles, he was right there, and we were running together, and I thought, well, we can just go to the end, and then I can try and break, or I can go kind of ridiculously early, which is what I did. I broke at about 8 miles and then just tried to hang on, and obviously did, but not enough. yes, the gap's closing between me and Ollie, but I think soon you'll see a lot of people contesting first place.
Well, all credit to Rowan Gates, but hats off to this man. Ollie Simon, the local man, has done it yet again. Title number 4.
Dominic went for it a long way to go. Like, he did a couple of 6-minute miles, and I just thought, I'm not going with that. I'll stick at my own pace. No, I was really happy with it, and so happy to get the 4th win.
And Neris Jones, who's trying to retain the women's title. Another great run from Neris Jones. Her time is going to be just over 3:19, but is it enough? She had 35 minutes to catch up. She'd gained 13 come the half marathon stage.
35 minutes to catch up, so you really had to go for it, I suppose, on that marathon.
I did. I really had to think in my head. There's no place to slow down. Whether I've done enough, I have no idea, but fingers crossed, we'll see.
Well, Neris Jones has only been across the line for some 20 minutes, and here comes Emma Newsome. It's going to be her day. She has produced an astonishing bike ride, a PB by almost an hour. She's done exactly the same in the marathon.
Top of the podium, how does that feel?
It feels... I'm lost for words. I'm over the moon. I've always wanted to be on a podium of some kind, and I would have never thought it would have been today here now, because I wasn't trying to go for top. I was just going to go for training, and to be here right now is just absolutely amazing. There's some fantastic people pacing me along the way, giving me support and really pushing me on, and I just can't believe it. I'm just so overwhelmed.
So let's confirm the men's results. Simon on 9:09.26. He's 9:06 clear of Dominic Rowan Gates. Great battle between those two. And Richie Gardner, only his 3rd ever triathlon, up in 3rd place. Newsome, Jones, Rees making up the podium in the women's ahead of Stephanie Waring. 11:34.33 the winning time. And it is now party time, and the celebrations will go on until the last man has crossed the line.
I'm a local boy, so to come down to that reception is awesome. Amazing event.
The atmosphere in Tenby is fantastic.
Fabulous 3 days, but really tough.
Well, it certainly is, but they'll all be back again next year.
It's been amazing, actually. The support from the crowd, they've just been so good.
An atmosphere second to none. And all those who've managed to complete all 3 stages collecting their 4th medal from Scott Powell, the co-race director. A big moment for them. And a celebration that they well deserve. And here comes the champion. He won in 10 and 11, injuries in 12 and 13, but he's won again in 14 and 15 to make it 4 long course weekend titles. The 35-year-old is not slowing down yet. And the women's champion, the biggest surprise of the weekend, without a doubt, Emma Newsome, a 20% improvement on last year to take the title.
Well, after what's been an epic long weekend, each and every athlete is getting the recognition that they deserve by having completed all 3 challenges. It is celebration time now in Tenby after yet another memorable long course weekend. Until next year, it's bye-bye.